Hey there, and welcome to Beer in Canada, and I'm Chris, and this is Rob, who's joining us for the first time.
Hello.
And today, we're checking out a beer that's finally made it from the West Coast to Ontario in the LCBO in bottles. And that's Okanagan Springs Pale Ale, which is a beer that Okanagan Springs Brewery has been making since 1989. So this is a 5% ABV Pale Ale, and we're going to open this up and give it a try and see what it's like.
Sounds good.
Wait, we're going to check. I think it's twist off.
Yeah. Sounds promising.
It's twist off. I did not kill myself, so that's good. Alright, so give this a pour. So what are we looking for in a Pale Ale? In terms of color, it tends to have a certain amount of clarity to it.
Very clear.
Usually, and this is very clear, and also apparently quite highly carbonated.
Yeah.
The bubbles are just
probably not picking that up, but it's quite audibly carbonated at this point.
Oh yeah, almost sounds like pop. But really, I mean, they describe this as kind of a copper color. Sounds about right, kind of an orangish,
and by that,
burnt orange copper color, something like that, somewhere in that vicinity. I mean, kind of a thin but definitely present, kind of white, off-white head that seems to be lingering fairly well, actually. So the head retention seems to be all right. So really, in pale ales, what we're looking for is some hoppiness, some bitterness. As well as it should be balanced by some malty characteristics. So let's see what we get on the nose of this, alright? So what are you getting?
I'm going to say this again, and I'm going to be surprised again when I actually get to the tasting, but a sweeter nose than I would have expected.
I'm getting more malt than hops. The hops are there a little bit, but this is much more of a maltier nose than I really would have expected. But all right, well let's give this a taste. Cheers.
Only one final test. How much is Santé?
Camera cat.
If the camera goes flying right now,
not disrupting things
it's
yet,
not our fault.
But give him 3 seconds.
This is the kind of quality drama we bring you here in Canada.
Studio C has its own share of challenges and difficulties.
But the good news is the mouse population is in check. Anyway, beer.
That's good to know. Beer. So, definitely highly carbonated. Probably too carbonated for the style, but it's not really burning my palate though, so it's not really something I would complain about. What do you think? I think the nose matches the taste a little bit in that there's a lot of the caramel malty sweetness in it.
Again, I think probably just did that to prove me wrong on my previous apprehension, but yeah, it very much it comes across very much like the nose test.
I'm kind of disappointed in the hops. There's only a little bit of bitterness. It does dry the tongue just a tad.
Very little.
Or maybe that's just me. It also could be the spicy wings I ate a few hours ago.
Or remnants of the Fullers.
Or remnants of it, yeah, that's also true. We were drinking Fuller's ESB at dinner. But there's really not much in the way of bitterness, and I'm really not getting much of any hop characteristic on the palate at all. It's an easy drinking beer.
Oh, very.
But it seems a little more mainstream than what I was hoping for in terms of the quality. But Okanagan does say this is BC's most popular craft brew, and they've been brewing this since 1989. So I think this would make a good gateway beer for. And I really don't. Yeah, it's a terrible phrase to be using, I suppose. But
hey man, you want some Okanagan? Try it.
Hey man, first taste is free. I do like it, but I think they need to. I think they need to increase the hops for it to really be a true pale ale.
Yeah, and perhaps not coming from a background that really understands the nitty-gritty of the difference between an IPA and a straight-up pale ale. Mm-hmm. It is not nearly what I would have expected for a pale ale to be.
Mm-hmm. So typically, Rob, what we do here is we give ratings out of 5. Now this can be based on a mix of how much you like the beer, how well it fits the style, and any general impressions.
Hmm.
So why don't I go first? In this case, I'm going to say this is kind of right around the middle of the road for me. I think this would be a good beer for the style. I enjoy the beer, but I think for the style it definitely needs a little bit more balance towards the hops. It's a little too malty. So I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5.
I find it a very accessible beer, a very enjoyable beer, but again, was sort of expecting a little bit more of that IPA style hoppiness, but I could see myself sitting down and especially like a summer type beer, this would go quite nicely. I would agree, yeah, right kind of in that sweet spot in the middle. I'd go 3 as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna have to try some of the other Okanagan beers when we get a chance. It's gonna have to have a road trip out to Vancouver or something.
There you go. When do you want to book that?
We'll get working on that right away. Thanks for agreeing to do this, Rob. And
hey, thanks for inviting me. It's been fun.
Cool. Thanks for tuning in. And all right, well, cheers.
Cheers.